Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hi there, food friends. I'm Ralph, behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And we've got a devilishly delicious item today, Ralph. Deviled eggs.
That sounds yummy.
And, you know, it's something that I think we all take for granted, deviled eggs. You know them, you love them, but deviled eggs are one of those things where I say it's like tomato sauce. Every family has a different recipe, you know, because there are so many different variations on deviled eggs.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the recipe that my mom always made for years and years, which is really simple. But deviled eggs are a thing that can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I find that deviled eggs that have a lot of ingredients, then the individual flavors of the ingredients sometimes can get lost.
That's true.
So keeping it simple provides those ingredients a chance to really shine.
Right.
Our research assistant here at Cavalcade of Food, also known as Sister Mary Ann, in her research about deviled eggs, you know, anything that's deviled, that word deviled, implies that it is something spicy.
Right.
That it contains something from Satan's pantry, okay? Something with a little zing, a little bite. And so for a deviled egg to be a deviled egg, it needs to have a little
kick.
Yes, exactly. And if it's not spiced that way, and sometimes they're not, they are to be referred to as stuffed eggs.
Either way, they're wonderful appetizers and hors d'oeuvres,
Totally.
and they probably became popular in the 50s or
Yeah,
40s
or even before. And I know Mary Ann mentioned in her research that a very popular item for new brides was the deviled egg plate.
I see you got
And
one.
I got one out for our deviled eggs here. But you know what? I think, Ralph, that gives me an idea. We'll do a vintage housewares video of just egg plates, because I
Yes.
think I have a few of them.
Oh, our friends out there love when you do a tour of the collection that you have. So yeah, if you have a lot of them, that would be fun. And since while we're at it, we should remind folks to send us their favorite deviled egg recipes, because as we said, there's such a variety out there. And
Absolutely.
I was thinking while you were speaking about how it got its name, deviled and spicy, how back a long time ago, spices probably seemed pretty exotic for American palates, and nowadays I think people like things spicier than they probably used to. But
That's probably true.
But the trick is to balance it, because if you get too much hot or too much heat, then as you were saying earlier, you might lose the actual flavor of the egg and all the basics.
Or even other flavors that, you know, beyond just the heat flavors. Now, what I've done is I've hard-boiled already and peeled 6 large eggs. Now, if I can, I did an episode, gosh, I don't even remember,
a year
Ralph.
ago?
Oh, it was 100 years ago.
Oh, 100.
On how I hard-boil an egg.
Yeah.
And if I'm able to figure out how to do it, I'll put a little link to it in the video.
Oh,
There's
there's
a way you can do it.
I thought you were saying if I can figure out how to hard boil an egg, anybody can. Because Kevin,
although you don't know how to hard boil an
well,
egg.
but I follow basically your recommendations for it, because there are a million.
There are a million
As simple
ways.
as it seems, there are a lot of tricks that people have. But Kevin's basic way of giving it a nice bath and letting them boil for a certain amount of time and all that, it's on a video. So he said, he'll put a link if he can. But I think that's paramount, because you don't want all that shell stuck on the egg and all those.
Yeah, and the other thing is you want to have the yolks nice and yellow, like that, without too much of the gray, which, you know, the longer you cook an egg, the more of that you get. So 6 eggs, hard-boiled, give us 12 deviled eggs, right? Because we're cutting the eggs in half.
Right.
And so I am removing the yolks.
That's no yolk,
that
folks.
Is,
and then
why'd I know you were going to say
I
that,
probably
Joe?
say it every time. And then there's enough for 12 on this traditional egg plate.
That's correct. So we're going to just put our empty egg shells here off to the side. Now I've got
shells.
I've got our 12, or not shells, but whites. There's our yolks. So now here's the ingredients. It's pretty simple. You want to add some kind of course, there is plenty of fat in the egg yolk, but something to help cream it up. Now you can use the very typical ingredient is mayonnaise, which is what I'm going to use. And you can use regular mayonnaise, or if you prefer, you can use a light mayonnaise, will work fine. You could also use sour cream, or a light sour cream will work. Do not use, however, like Miracle Whip or salad dressing.
Oh.
Doesn't work as well.
Okay, good to know.
And then for our devil Satan's pantry, we've got some horseradish. Okay, that's going to give it the heat. A little yellow mustard, salt, pepper, and a little sugar. Now, a lot of this is kind of to taste, but I'm going to try to give measurements. I'm going to first start by putting about a tablespoon or so of mayonnaise in, and a good teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. We like them with a little kick of the horseradish, and then you don't need much, maybe a teaspoon of yellow mustard. So let me just get all that combined, and I'm just using a dinner fork, Ralph, as you can see. But I think of other deviled eggs I've had from people. I think of your sister, who used to always make them for a party, and she would put like a piece of smoked salmon on the top.
Oh yeah, my sister Vicky.
Yeah.
And deviled eggs, if you've ever been to a party that has them, you'll know they don't last long.
They don't last long. They're
People
one of the
love
more popular hors d'oeuvres. And Ralph, we were talking the other day how we've been doing some cocktail recipes, and how we really are going to start doing some hors d'oeuvre recipes.
Because you can't drink on an empty stomach.
You can, and you shouldn't. And so this is I think what we'll do is we're going to make this our first in this hors d'oeuvre series.
Cavalcade of appetizers.
There you go, cavalcade of appetizers, because hors d'oeuvres go very well with cocktails. Now it's a little dry, so I'm going to put in another couple of teaspoons of mayonnaise. We want it really creamy. Some people actually beat this with a mixer.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean, to really get it creamy. But like I said, I'm using mayonnaise. You could use sour cream. Now,
could you use? A lot of people are watching their calories and having like light mayonnaise. Could you use that?
Yes. Matter of fact, I think this is light mayonnaise.
Okay.
I'm going to put in about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt, and maybe about an eighth of a teaspoon of black pepper, and maybe a half a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon, it looks like more of a quarter of a teaspoon of sugar.
You don't want it to be sweet, but
you don't.
But sometimes, as we've mentioned on many of our other cooking shows, the sweetness really brings out the saltiness if it's balanced right.
Yes, and it kind of with the horseradish, because the horseradish is kind of essentially, pickled, or it's in a vinegar.
Right.
And so the sugar just sort of cuts that out.
Balances it nicely and perks up the salt.
Now, of course, what I have to do now is give it a taste test. The other thing is there's so many ways that you can get the yolks back into the eggs. And if I was a real gourmet, I might put it in a piping bag with like a star tip and pipe it back in a very fancy fashion. And you'll see that sometimes people will do that. It's a beautiful presentation.
Right, you see like a little swirl at the top, almost like a textured ice cream cone.
Gosh, that's good.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, like a little swirl. And that you'll get with, I guess the star tip would give you that kind of effect, Ralph.
So how was the taste?
It's good, but it's not enough horseradish for me. So I'm going to put in another teaspoon of horseradish. So just to really amp up that
kick.
From
the
These are going to be
pantry.
deviled.
Devil's Delight.
Max.
Devil's Delight. We'll call them the Devil's Delight deviled eggs.
And I'm going to put in another teaspoon of mayonnaise. So right now I guess we're at about 2 tablespoons total. I'm going to put the recipe in the link below. But everybody, you can
adjust to taste.
Adjust to taste, or like I said, share with us if you make a deviled eggs in a certain way, or your mom or grandma, or you had an aunt, there's usually somebody in the family who's like the deviled egg person.
Yeah,
okay, the person who brings the deviled eggs to the party and everybody loves them.
That's their one job. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's their thing. Okay, so I'm going to let me get a couple more teaspoons, and I'm going to give it another taste to make sure it's where I like it. It needs 1 more teaspoon of mustard, and we're there. Okay, so that's 2 teaspoons of prepared mustard. That will add to the sharpness of it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, Ralph, is we're going to fill the egg whites here. Now I'm just going to use a teaspoon, okay? And we're just going to put it in like so, okay? That's how Mom did it. Wasn't fancy about it, but it looks nice. And we're going to put a nice... The funny part of this is that, you know, when you take out the... Thank you, Ralph. When you take out the egg yolk from the egg white, you know, of course, it perfectly sized to the portion of the egg. But now we're adding all this stuff, we're fluffing it up, we're incorporating air into the egg yolk. So you're going to have, by volume, you're going to have more yolk than you started with. And so you can kind of mound them a little bit like this. And we'll put in a good amount here.
That's what we call a good heaping helping.
Yep, exactly right. Let me finish doing this, and then Ralph will come back and we'll show our friends the finishing touches to deviled eggs. Ralph, we've got our eggs done.
Okay,
now
so
I'm going to garnish. I'm going to just use a little paprika on top. Love the color. This is very traditional. You could use a smoked paprika if you wanted to give it a smoky taste. You could use cayenne pepper if you wanted to give it more heat. You could really do any kind of herb that you want here.
Just for color contrast and flavor?
Yes. You know, another kind of traditional thing is an olive slice.
Black or green?
Black or green, either one. And I'm going to just I've got some fresh parsley from the garden, and I'm just going to put that in there.
Isn't that pretty?
Doesn't that look kind of, and it freshens it up, but I think it also really looks really nice. But you could put a caper on here. You could put a piece of crumbled bacon on here. You could, get in there. You could put, gosh, salmon like your sister used to do. Gosh, I mean, it's really, there's no end to how you could garnish the deviled egg, and not just, you know, for the parsley, of course, gives it this beautiful top, this color, but also, it adds a little flavor to the story.
It kind of brightens it up because, you're getting all these different interesting flavors, and the green usually kind of, I don't know, just brightens things. But see how you don't need to do all the fancy piping, and still it looks pretty fancy without a lot of extra effort.
Yeah, I think even without all the piping, and I mean how it couldn't have been simpler and easy to do. Now, to really get the maximum, these should really sit in the fridge for 3, 4, 5 hours, okay? But that allows the flavors to melt. So the horseradish and mustard and salt and pepper and all of it to kind of come together.
Okay, I'll buy that, because you know how certain, like guamki or salsa, certain things taste better the
next day.
The longer they're marinating in their own, stewing in their own juices.
And deviled eggs are not anything that necessarily have a long shelf life.
So you don't want to wait too long.
No, you don't want to wait too long. And they should be refrigerated, especially with the mayonnaise in them. But however, they are really best if you're taking them to a party, say, and the party's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then, you know what, make them at 11 o'clock and keep them in the fridge they really do, it does help for them to hang out for a couple of hours.
Maybe that's why they go so quickly too, is because people want to eat them before they turn, but I don't think that's part of it. But I know that if it's an outdoor picnic or an outdoor party and they're there, you want to keep them out of the sun.
Yes.
You can even put them on a little ice bath.
You could put them in a bed of ice. And I love this egg plate. It has a center section, and you can put olives or gherkins, beets, or any other kind of little thing there. But, I guess we need to take one out of here and try it.
Yeah, who's going to believe you if you don't taste it?
Exactly. So I'm going to take this one.
And remember, this is Kevin's mom's basic deviled egg recipe. So send us yours if you have something different or a favorite from a family member or somebody who that was their specialty for parties.
Takes me back, and I'm going to give the other half to the cameraman.
Okie dokie.
A great hors d'oeuvre any time of year. Deviled eggs really don't have a season. They're always good.
What I like is you're getting the egginess of, the white of the egg is still has that nice hard-boiled egg flavor.
Yeah.
And then the filling is so good. And I was thinking you could also even use sweet relish if you didn't want to do sugar.
Great idea. Another way to sweeten it up. Yeah. Put in a tablespoon of sweet pickle relish.
And Marianne was saying like a savory, if you didn't want to even go in the sweet direction, just use a garlic, or what did she say?
A dill relish. Yeah. The possibilities are endless. So share your deviled egg story and recipe with us, and
we love hearing from you.
These are going to go in the fridge, and we will enjoy them later. But you know what? We are just grateful that you chose to spend some time with us. Can't believe summer is coming to end already.
Don't say that.
I know. But we hope everybody is well, and we will look forward to seeing you again real soon here on Cavalcade of Food. Until then, if you like what we do, subscribe, share, and you know what? Be well until we see each other again.
It's sometimes hard to be an angel, so take a break and be a little devil and make some deviled eggs.
There you go. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.